Joining me now with more insight on Al-Shabaab and the Westgate Mall attack is Robin Simcox. He is a research fellow at the Henry Jackson Society in London and an expert on terrorism and national security. Robin, welcome to The Heat. Thanks so much for joining us. I was in Somalia quite a few years back, and at the time it was a civil war. There were warlords, there were these clans, young kids and technicals chewing cat, disorganized but deadly, a very dangerous place. Take us from that point to now. Was that basically an incubator for Al-Shabaab? How do we get to where we are today?
Well, there's been a lot of, obviously, state insecurity, very clear lack of strong governance. I think the fact that there was such a security vacuum allowed groups like Al-Shabaab to take advantage of the general lawlessness in the state. Al-Shabaab was a segment of a larger group of Sharia courts called the Islamic Courts Union. Al-Shabaab was one component of that, and especially vicious component of it. And since then, its ability to recruit, the fact that it can pay its recruits reasonably well and often more than the state can, has enabled it, in conjunction with the ideological pull, to become really quite the strong group.
And of course, here in the West, they're described as dominated, linked, or affiliated with Al-Qaeda. How much strength or sway does Al-Qaeda have over Al-Shabaab?
More now than before. Al-Shabaab now is an official affiliate of Al-Qaeda, has been since February 2012. Before then, there were links between the groups. Al-Shabaab had made noises about wanting to join Al-Qaeda's global brand. Osama bin Laden was always very reluctant. When bin Laden died, Ayman al-Zawahiri, the new Al-Qaeda emir, was much more amenable to Al-Shabaab joining. Now they are officially Al-Qaeda's Somali affiliate. But of course, the links between day in, day out, between Al-Qaeda Central in Pakistan and Al-Shabaab in Somalia are probably reasonably low. Al-Shabaab have a lot of operational freedom. It's not like they're constrained in what they do by Al-Qaeda Central. But we should consider them to be part of Al-Qaeda. They are an official affiliate.
Let me ask you about this, because this is the thing that I think we find puzzling. You know, if you look at their history and you look at the Kenyan forces there in the southern port city, I think it was Kismayo, they went in there, they apparently routed Al-Shabaab. You see this internal strife where it almost is like the mafia, where there's these hits. You almost feel like they're in disarray, and then all of a sudden Westgate. How does that happen?
Well, actually, my theory is that it's the disarray that actually prompted this attack, because you're right. Al-Shabaab is seen as a group in retreat. It loses its territory in Mogadishu, it loses territory in Kismayo. You have these divisions within the group between the nationalist elements that are only interested in Somali issues and the global elements that are focused on the international jihad. You've got huge amounts of tension between foreign fighters and local Somalis. But yet, this really significant attack happens at Westgate. And actually, I think what happened was the fact that it lost territory, the fact that after this internal bloodletting over the summer, Ghadane appeared as the key, clear leader of Al-Shabaab and has very much a global jihad outlook. That actually focuses Shabaab's mind. Losing the territory frees up operational capacity. They don't have to worry about controlling territory anymore. Ghadane appears as a winner in the internal struggle, and what better way for him to announce his dominance within the group but a genuinely international attack rather than just local Somali attacks on Mogadishu. So actually the weakness within the group sort of contributed to this attack in Westgate.
And so that you see them more as an international threat, or is this a one-off? Do you think they can pull off more?
So far, it's too early to tell. They have performed regional attacks before in Kampala. At the moment, the fact that this happened in Westgate, it's too early to say. I think for sure that they're now a regional or international threat. But my sense is that's the way it's probably going to go. They are. It's almost when you become an official part of Al-Qaeda, as Al-Shabaab have been, they can't. It's almost part of the MO that you have to have an international outlook. Al-Qaeda isn't a organization that is only interested in the near jihad and local authoritarians. The very purpose behind the group is transnationalism. It's re-establishing Islamic Emirates and global governance. So by the very nature of the organization, their connections to Al-Qaeda, they have to be looking further than Somalia, and maybe that's what we've seen in Kenya is the first manifestation of that.
Robin, let me ask you, the Kenyan security officials are talking about this woman who's been dubbed the White Widow as actually perhaps being a leader of this group of terrorists. What's your thoughts on that?
I find that really hard to believe. Samantha Luthwaite, the White Widow for sure, has joined up with Al-Shabaab. We know she's in Somalia. But in terms of being an operational leader, with the way these kind of organizations work, the idea that Al-Shabaab local commanders would hand over decision-making to a white female foreigner seems to me to be too far-fetched. That's just not the way groups like Al-Shabaab work. So the White Widow, Samantha Luthwaite, is in Somalia. I'm sure she's connected to the group. I'm equally sure. Whether she had some kind of operational role in the Westgate attacks, I'm more skeptical about.
Robin, let me ask you this. You know, the United States and the West, they've targeted Afghanistan, they've looked at Pakistan, they look at Yemen. Obviously, they've had attacks in Somalia as well. Should Africa be the new focus as far as the war on terror?
Africa definitely has to be a focus. It can't be the only one or necessarily the main one, because obviously what's happening in Syria and Iraq and Yemen means the Middle East obviously is going to remain equally as problematic. But consider what's happening in Nigeria, considering what's happening in Somalia, North Africa, in the Sahel. Al-Qaeda is gaining ground in these areas. And the US has had a focus there. I mean, there's been the occasional drone attack in Somalia. But for sure, we have a very clear, aggressive Al-Qaeda affiliates in this region now. But the threat, for example, coming from Britain, the threat to British lives, the last 3 attacks that have led to the death of Brits have been in Nigeria, they've been in Algeria with the gas complex attack earlier this year, and they've been in Westgate, in Nairobi. So the threat to Western lives in Africa, I think, is actually very clear now from Al-Qaeda.
Robin Simcox joining us from the UK. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you.